Here are the next set of new demo videos: setting up animation clips, overlay of smoke and animation, playing with color, and aligning vertical videos with adding sound. To start our new project, we open up Premiere, and when it is open, we create 3 new bins and put them in the project panel. The first one is for clips. The second one would be for sequences. And the third one for others like photos. What we need to do next now is to put the clips into the bins that we have chosen here. And I've highlighted what we need to put in there. The first thing we'll get are some photographs. And you'll notice one of these 2 photographs, the size of it is actually 1920 by 1080. And that would be a good image for setting up the actual screen size for your sequence. So we're going to highlight these 2 and drag them into photos. And then go into clips for a technique. And we'll drag those into the clips. So we'll highlight this bunch, drag them into there. Bring green into there for green screens. And here's the rest of them. And sequences, when we actually make the sequences, that's where they're going to go. Now, there's one other thing here. It's bat pix copy. And those are pictures to show you how to work with animation on the sequence line. And it's already a whole list of photographs, so I just need to drag the entire folder and put it into the overall bin here. There you go. One thing that's very important to remember is that when you're importing a folder full of photographs for animation, those photographs need to be ordered in sequence in the same order that you want to watch them. In this next video, I will show you how to take a file of images that are meant for an animation, putting them onto the timeline, and then exporting them as an animation. So right here we've actually got our folder that has all of the different images on it. And if those images are all in order, it's very easy. You just drag the entire file onto the timeline like this. Now you want to shrink it a little bit here and then see if you like the speed of the animation. And while these are each 5 seconds long, you can see that's much too slow. So you can take each individual frame and change the speed of it. I'll show you how to do that. And then we will actually look at changing the speed of them all en masse. You want to highlight one frame and then you go up to clip and you look at speed and duration, but it's Command R. So always use the key command. So you do Command R and this little frame here comes up and you can change the duration of it. And right there it's at 4 minutes, 4 seconds and 29 frames, which is essentially 5 seconds. So you could take that and make it 0 seconds and 29 frames, and that's too many. So we'll look at 9 frames per image. And you can see that changed one of them. But you actually want to change all of them at once. So we'll just undo that with Command Z and highlight all of them. You can do Select All, which is Command A. And then again, you do Command R to change the speed. And it will change the speed of all of them together. So go up here and you will change this to 9 frames. And here you need to click this. It's a little tab called Ripple Edit, and it means that it will shrink all the spaces in between, and that's an important thing to do. So when you click OK, you see that it shrinks the time frame of each one. So if you click play, you'll get an idea of what the animation looks like, and you realize that's a little bit too slow. Now you could export this and then change the speed of it, but you get a better video if you change the speed of each one of the frames. So we will do that. It's all highlighted again. and we go back into Command R, and we will look at just 1 frame per image. There you go. And that might be the speed that you'd want here. So that's a pretty good speed. Now let's say you would want it to see what it's like if they're going about half the speed. You could copy and paste this entire section and just put it here, and then change the speed of each one of those images to twice or half the speed, and then you could export them together so you'd have 2 clips of different speeds. So everything's selected, and then you can do edit, copy, or Command C, which we will do. So you do Command C for copy and then Command V for paste. Make sure you know where your cursor is. That's where the program will paste them. So there we've actually got another set, so you can see that you've got the same animation twice, but this one we want to go about half the speed. So again, you do Command R, and we'll just change this to 2 frames per image, and you'll see that it will expand it to twice as long. So now we could export this entire thing as one video. So it's a good idea when you want to export something is put the outer parameters of it. And in this case, we want the video to end here. This is an important thing to do when you want the in and out points, because sometimes you might have a lot of other little clips at the end of this and you only want to export this amount. You have to put the in and out markers of it. So here's where you find your markers. You could do your mark in and mark out, and you could actually click this or just hit O and I. So here I'm just going to click O, and you see this will be the end point, and it won't export anything more than this. And then you go to File, Export Media, or it's just Command M. So this panel here will come up, and this is essentially how you export everything. For this course, essentially what you want to do for the format, even if all of your videos are QuickTime, you want to export them in MP4, and that would be H.264. You can see there's all these different things you can export it, but for now, for this class, we'll do H.264, match source, high bit rate. And if you match source, it means it'll come out in the same format as previously. And then you want to name it. You don't want it to be just sequence 03 MP4. So you click on that. It'll ask you where you want to export it. And you have a choice here. We'll just call it Clips for Techniques because I might want that. And then, of course, we'll call it Bat Animation. And then you click Save, and then if you think everything, all the parameters are correct here, and I'll go through all of these parameters at another point. This is just for a quick export. And then you click Export, and you watch it export. How to set the parameters in Premiere when you want to import photographs. You go up to Premiere Pro, click Preferences, and go down to Timeline. And this box will open, and you can see here video transition default, audio transition default, and still image default duration. And right now it's on 5 seconds. You could also do it on frames if you like. And 5 seconds will be good, but depending on your application, the time will change, and it's very easy to change that. But you can also change the duration of photographs on the timeline. We're now going to set up overlays of smoke and animation by using one of the photographs as a backdrop. So we'll go to the bin with other photographs and choose one of the photographs and use that to establish the size of the sequence. So you just take it and you grab it in there And you can see that it fills the entire screen, and that's what you want. How to load a photograph onto the timeline sequence, and then overlay some smoke onto that image, and one other, perhaps a little bat flying around on top of it. So we open up others' photographs, and you remember in this particular photograph here, it's the correct size for the video that you might want to make. It's a 1080 by 1920. So it will actually set the size of this timeline here, which may already be the same. So you can just take it and drag it on. Now, this actually has a 5-second length, and there's a number of ways of changing it. Like I mentioned, you could click on it, do Command R, and this comes up. But there's an easier way of doing it is just take your selection tool or the pointer and you just place it on one end of it. You'll get that little symbol, and you can just drag it out. That's a very easy way of changing the length of a photograph. Now, on top of that, we actually want to put a little bit of smoke going through, and I'll show you how to layer that. And then another animation. So we go back to the main bin here and open up clips, and you want to look at smoke. And you can drag this cursor along to check what's in this video, because you don't want to take the entire thing. So I want to take this little bit of smoke here. So I got to mark my in and out point, and I can either use these little brackets or I can just do O for out, and I can drag this along to the beginning point of it, perhaps right around there. And again, I can lengthen it again on the timeline and just mark the in point. And then I can just click onto here and drag it over top of this video. And now you can see the smoke. But one thing you want to do is you want to enlarge this a little bit so that you don't have the black frame around it. So again, in order to activate any clip, you just have to click on it and then go to Effect Controls. And once again, you want to change the scale of it. So you just click on here and drag the cursor along, and it will make it bigger or smaller. So you could just drag it along until it fills the frame. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit too big, but you want to completely eliminate the frame around it. And then you can make the photograph exactly the same length if you like, or you can leave it longer. Okay, so how do we get rid of the black background there? Well, there's a very easy way of doing this. So again, you click on that image and you go to opacity, and you can open it up, and here you're going to see blend mode. And right now it's on normal. I mean, one thing you could do is just simply make it less opaque, but it doesn't really work. Some of the black background blends in with this here, so you don't want that. You just go to the blend mode, it says right here, and you click on this tab and you go down to lighten. So what happens when you do that, it takes the lightest value of either of these clips. And in this case, you want to get rid of the black background. So the only thing you want is the smoke, and that's the lighter point. And you can see here that you get some very nice smoke. But let's say you decide that's a little bit too slow. You can click on this again and change the speed of it along with the duration of it. So again, you do Command R, and this box comes up, and the speed says 100. And let's say you want it to go twice the speed. You can just click this and put 200, and it'll go twice as fast. And then you can just check it, see if you like that speed of smoke a little bit better. It will go with that. And again, you can just shorten the video here. And we don't want the soundtrack at the moment, so we'll just click on it and delete it. There you go. So let's say now you want a little bat flying around there. And the bat video that I just exported, I'm going to load on top of this. So you can see the bat video here. And you have both the different speeds of the bat. And we might even overlay both of those bats on top of it. So I can drag this video on top here. And you see, once again, you have that background. So you're going to want to get rid of that background. So we highlight the bat animation and we close this off. And here you click on effects. And you might want to move this a little bit closer in there to make it handier. So you click on effects and the effects here open. And you go down this list and it says video effects and keying. So you open keying, and I'm going to show you the easiest one right now, and it's the Ultra key. If you have a nice flat background and you want to get rid of all of it, it's very simple. You just select Ultra key, and here you want to go to Effect Controls, and then you drag Ultra key into this box, and it opens up. And here you see the key color, and there's a little eyedropper. So click on that, and you'll see a little color comes up here, and you place the eyedropper on the color that you want to get rid of. And in this case, since it's such a nice clean background, it just gets rid of it. Now, at another point, I'll show you how to set all of the parameters on here in case you want to, if you have to get rid of little bits of color here and there. But so far, that works quite well. Now, you might want to cut this thing up and have the two separate videos playing. There's a slow one and there's a fast one. So we can open this up a little bit more, and we'll drag this along until we get to the end of the first video. And you see there's a little space in there that's black. We want to get rid of that black space there. So we can put a cut line right here, and here you just use a razor blade, make a cut, and then go towards when the next one opens. It doesn't matter if you miss a little bit, put another cut line there, and you can click on that extra little bit and cut it off. Now, if you like, you can actually just put this over top so you have both bats playing at the same time. And since you've already got rid of the background in this entire clip, that keying will hold. So you can see this bat just kind of fluttering around there, and they're going at different speeds. Now, if you want them to enter at a different time, you can see that these started at the same time. You can just move one of them along like this, and it will come in at a different time. I want to show you some fun and interesting things that you can do with color. So I need to get two clips here, and I'll just randomly pick this one. You can see up here, this is just walking through a forest. And the second one has some nicely delineated colors, and I'll choose that one. And I'll drag that onto the timeline also. And I'll work on each one a little bit separately here. And that one, the boat clip has some rather loud wind going through it, so I'll get rid of that soundtrack. Now, once again, you highlight the clip that you want to work with. And we'll start with this clip here, and then you open Effect Controls, and you close that bin and you open up Effects. You open Video Effects and you go down to Image Control. You open this and you click on Color Balance and you bring it up to this bin here and you open it, and then you'll see a red, green, and blue. And once again, I want to change the colors as we go through. So like every other effect, you can set the keyframe by clicking these little toggles here. And you see once more it sets the keyframes. So we're going to start off with the standard color, and you see each one is 100%. And just so you can see it more clearly, I'm going to open each one here, so you can see moving along with those. We can open this entire thing up a little bit better. So I'm going to move the cursor along a little bit, and I'm going to change all of the different colors here. So I'm going to bump up the red. I'll bump down the green and bump up the blue. And then you can see it automatically makes keyframes along here. So now we can actually take these and start reversing everything. Knock the green down and bump the blue right up so it turns very blue, kind of nighttime. And then of course we want to change all of that, bump up the red and the green, but knock back the blue. And then we knock back the red and we get very intense green. And if you want to make everything super saturated, you bump up all of the toggles here, and it makes them all equal, but the colors will be a little bit more saturated, you see here. So you can do any kind of mixture that you like. And then we want everything back up to 0 here, or back up to 100. You can also type in these numbers, that doesn't matter. So you'll see as we go through it, the colors change rapidly all the way. Now this particular working with color changes the overall color of the entire image. Now this is all pretty arbitrary, but let's say you wanted the entire thing to go a lot quicker. You can actually change the size of these different frames here, and you can move all of these keyframes along. You can change the timing of it. So if you brought every one in a lot more towards the center, the entire speed of everything would change. Let's do these randomly here. And you can also move these little keyframes up and down, so you can change the various parameters as you go. Here we go. So then, because I moved all the keyframes over, the last bit of the video will be normal again. Okay, now we're going to go on to another clip here, and I'm going to use a different editing tool, and that's the Lumetri tools. I want to expand this because as soon as you open up color right here, you get this whole new box coming out. And I'm only going to show you one of these, but I would like you to try each one of the different tools themselves, but we want to work with curves at this point. And this is a rather difficult tool to use, but you could actually try using that in different ways, and you'll find that you'll change the different amounts of light. I will undo it. Now, what I want to do in this tool is show you how to isolate colors. Now, unfortunately, you don't do the keyframe with this. It doesn't really work. So you change the overall feeling of a clip, but you could just divide this up into different segments and change each one differently, but I'll do it all as one. So we're first going to work with hue and saturation. So you could take a certain color, isolate it, bump up the saturation of that, and then bump down the saturation of others. And I like this kind of orangey yellow here, so I'm going to take the eyedropper and click on it. And you see it creates these different points right here. And you can take these points and you can bump them up. So you'll see as you bump them up, you actually start to increase the saturation of these, and you could desaturate everything else so it's black and white except for that color, and that would be by dragging these particular all the other colors downwards. Now as you go through this video, you'll see that everything is black and white except for that one particular color. And you can actually broaden that color if you like to include a few more colors, because you see here now you're also including the red. And everything else, all the other colors have disappeared. And again, you can change these parameters to include a few more colors. But we want to narrow that off a little bit. Well, we'll just undo that first. And we're going to pick the color blue. And you see the same with that, but what will happen is actually the sky, even though it's much lighter color, it's also blue, it will also increase in saturation and everything else disappears. So then you have only blue in there. Okay, that's one thing you can do with color isolation if you want to get rid of all the other colors. So we'll undo that, and now we'll go to hue versus hue. And here you can take one particular color, isolate it, and change that color. So once again, in this case, I want to change the color of the blues. So I'll get my eyedropper there, I'll pick blue, and then you can start moving this point up into different colors. You can change it to green, or you could change it to red if you like, or kind of a purple. And you'll see that it's also happening up in the sky. Now you can take other colors if you like. We could take those yellows, even though they're kind of orange, and change the colors of those and make those a little bit more blue or purple. You could drag it down to here, and that makes kind of a green. All the way up here, kind of a purple. And you could take all the greens and do something else. Now, I want to undo that, and we'll work with hue versus luma. So let's say you want a certain color to be brighter. You can again choose blue, and you can make that more luminous. You can lighten them, or you can darken them. So we'll lighten those a little bit, and then we're going to darken the yellows. Well, it's orange in this case. Make those a lot darker. There you go. So that's how you select hues and you change the light capacity of them. All right, I'm going to undo that now. And what I want to do is I want to go into our other clip right here, and I want to get rid of everything I've done there. So it's very simple. You just click on the entire effect and you hit delete, and it brings it back to normal. Now, let's see if you remember what we looked at last week. There was the enclave, and that was the video by Richard Moss. So we're going to do something a little bit similar. He could have done it this way, but I don't think it would have been quite as good. So let's say he wants to change the color of all the greens in there and make them look kind of infrared. So you can click on that, and then we go to lumetri here, and we're going to do hue versus hue. So we're going to take one of the greens right there, and we're going to move that green towards that kind of infrared color, a little bit purple. I'll make it a bit more purple this time. And we want to actually widen the range of the green so it includes all of the greens. So you can add extra keyframes on here, and you can stretch this out here. So essentially you capture pretty well all of the greens. And you can see walking through the entire video, you've changed all of those greens to this nice kind of lavender purple. Now, let's say we want to increase a little bit the saturation of that just to make it all that much more beautiful. So you can take your eyedropper, click on one of those, and there you can increase the saturation. So we're really over the top here. Now you can see what happens in this video. And it looks like everything has changed, but actually almost everything was green. So all of that green will appear this nice lavender. And once again, if you want to speed up the entire video, and we'll highlight both of them, do Command R, 3 times as fast, 300 the speed. And you can watch it, different color, much faster. Get that dog running. So in this video, you've seen how you can play with the overall color palette or isolating different colors and seeing what you can do with those. Now, what I'd like you to do if you're trying these is try all of the different, like the basic correction and things like that. You can change the white balance, the creative, and try playing with these and see what you can do. That's it for color. What I'm going to show you now is how to deal with something like those pesky vertical videos and how you can turn them into a more interesting project. So we need to go into the bin here and get the 2 vertical movies and put them on the timeline. So with this one, what you want to do is get rid of that first bit from about there and then click Mark In. Go across here and you don't want that extra bit at the end, and you click Mark Out. And then you can drag that onto the timeline, and we'll get rid of the soundtrack because there actually isn't one, and I'm going to put another soundtrack on there. And then now we want the second vertical, and essentially we just want to get rid of it when it has that weather thing up top. So we'll click Mark In. I've already done it, but I'll show you how to do it. And then Mark Out. And drag that on here. And actually I'm going to start with that one so we can move that there. Get rid of the soundtrack again. And what I want to do is I want to make I use this one twice. And so I just click Command C, that's for copy, and Command V. And I want these to be a little bit different because now they're going to be identical. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to with Command R, I'm going to reverse the speed. Go OK. And then I want to do one other thing, is I want to flip it around. So we'll go into Transform, Effect Controls, do a horizontal flip. There you go. And then you see up there, there's a horizontal flip. You can drag this into there, or you can just double click. Okay, so now I'm going to stack these. I'm going to put that one on the top. That's the middle one. And put this as one layer. And that as the other layer. And we can shorten that. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is get rid of these bands here, so that you can see the layers underneath. So the way we do that is to highlight this, and then I'm going to want to crop, and I'm already in Transform. It's the same one that I got the flip, and bring crop up into here. And so with crop, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open these so you can see a little bit more clearly what I'm doing. And then I'm going to crop the left until there and crop the right until there. So you just click on this toggle here and you drag it along to there. And on the right, I'll crop it to about here. Now, unfortunately, the videos underneath are not aligned properly. So let's get those aligned properly. Now, you can move this out of the way, or you can just blink it out for a bit. There's a little eye here, and if you want it to disappear, you just click on that, and then that will disappear. Okay, so we could crop this off, but we're just going to move it over. But if you do want to crop it, we could crop both edges of that, drag this into here, and then crop the left. Click on this one and you crop the left off. But underneath you'll still see the band from the other video, and then you'll crop the right. Now what you need to do is to move it out of the way. So you do that with the position, and again, you could just drag this number, or you can click on motion and move it over. It's a little bit more precise to do it this way. So we'll just drag that over to here. And we'll take the bottom one and also drag it over to the other edge. You could crop those off, but you don't really need to because they're going to be hidden. And we'll drag that to the other end. And now you can open this up again and you've got the entire video. Now let's say you want to do this in a slightly more interesting way. And you want the crop to slowly move in. So we click on this again and we get to the crops, and you can see that this one is cropped at 34.2 and this one very similar. But let's say you want it to slowly move across. Well, what we can do here is we can put the keyframes in and move this to about the point where you want it to be fully cropped, and add your keyframe. And then you can pull this back, and drag the crop back to 0. Now, when you play it, you can watch the crop move across. Now that's going pretty slow, so one thing you could do is you can actually just take this keyframe and drag it over like that. And then we're going to take the second one, and you want to find the point where you want it to also be a full crop. And you click the toggle there and it puts in a keyframe, and then you just drag it back a little bit and bring this back to 0. There you go. So then when you pan across this, you can first see one crop and then the second crop. There you go. That's pretty simple. Now, you might want to do something like add in a little bit of sound. So I've nicely added in the other photos here a few sound clips, and I'll show you how you can kind of play a little bit with the sound. I'm going to expand this so we can look at the sound clips a little bit more carefully. So let's say I want to put a seagull in there. You can put any sound clips you like in it. You can just drag them in there. Now, let's say you want some whale sounds, but you don't have any whale sounds. There are several tricks you can do. Is you could take something like the seagull sound again, and maybe we'll shrink this a little bit. You could click on it and again do your clip speed and duration, or Command R, and reverse it, and then maybe put it at 20%. And maybe you can make that even slower. So do Command R, do that as 10%. Okay, now it's going to sound a lot more like a whale. And then you could cut that in half and drag it underneath, and you might hear a couple of whales together. Now you don't need that whole track, but we'll just drag it underneath here. So you can highlight both of them and pull that underneath, and then you'll hear all three tracks together. And you might want to start the track a little bit more in the middle of it. So you get your selection tool and actually just drag that over a bit and pull them in. Now you probably want a little bit of wind also. So I've got a couple of wind tracks and some thunder and lightning. So I can just drag it down here and drag one of the winds underneath, and one more, and then perhaps the thunder and lightning. Here you can listen to the thunder and lightning. You can expand these so you can get a better look here. And then you drag it underneath. and you can put that wherever you like.